away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy, but I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy, but I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy, but I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy, but I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. I know the world is going crazy, but I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy, but I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy. I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy.
Jamille, I remember in 2006 when you decided to go to Atlanta. I wasn't really excited about you going, but I saw that you were determined to go. Because when you were on your way, the car broke down and you got out of your car and got into your cousin's car and had your car towed back home and kept going to Atlanta. And then from there, I just saw how you began to bloom. And you had your ups, you had your downs. And even though I was here and you were there, I was still just a phone call away. And we talked every day. It's just been exciting to see how you've grown, how you've changed your way of thinking, how you've enlightened me in your journey, how you've shared so much knowledge, and you've taught me so much. You've taught me how to think for myself. You've taught me how to investigate for myself and seek out the truth. And that's something that I never did before. And I'm really grateful for that. It has taken a lot of courage for you to do the things you've done. You have made me proud. I'm excited for you. I love you. I admire you. You encourage me to pursue the best me that I can possibly be. In all that I do, I share with you. And I'm grateful for that, and I love you.
Mystery lady, I know the world is going crazy. I can see you having my baby. Let's get away. Let's get away, mystery lady. I know the world is going crazy.
You are now listening to the Jamille Harley Morning Show.
Good morning, everybody. Facebook land, YouTube land, Twitch land, all the lands out there. Good morning, and good morning to my lovely cast and crew and team and all you good people behind me and next to me inside. Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing? Quiana and Dre, how y'all doing? Okay, we can't hear none of y'all. Let's see what's going on. All right. There we go. There now y'all unmuted. Okay, my bad. That was me.
One sound, as you say.
One sound. My bad. I'm like, wait a minute. I can't hear nobody. We was just talking before the show.
Ain't crazy how in a black family everything means you're trying to be funny, no matter what you do. You couldn't have an accident, right?
Yeah, or you just want some attention.
Yes, I'm 7.
That's what comes along with being a kid. Dang, now give it to me. Oh man, how y'all doing this morning? It's Saturday. Well, it's beautiful here. I don't know what the weather is like there.
Hey, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Right. Right.
It's not necessary. You know, I'm talking about the weather. Past Labor Day, brother. We'll catch you around April of next year.
And say we can't talk about the weather till it's spring again in Indianapolis.
Right,
Precisely.
We know something's happening. Not all we need to talk about.
You know that there are changes going on here. Like,
look, my mama called me, and I do this every time I speak to my mom. That we go through like a checklist, and one of the things is the weather. And she's like, "Yeah, it's been raining for the past few days here," and I'm like, that's unfortunate. It's beautiful here. It's
Yeah, that's the hater in you. That's why you do that kind of thing.
right. So wait. So that further lets me know that you talk to your mother pretty much every day. So she told you that it was raining. So for you to even make the comment,
but that was yesterday.
Like, I don't know.
I haven't talked to her today. I haven't spoke to her today yet.
But it's not like we're in Nova Scotia and you've never been there before. You're from Indianapolis.
Right.
You know what the weather is like. You did that all the way full circle. You did it on purpose.
Good morning, Harold. Good morning, Harold. Harold says, good morning, my beautiful people. You see I'm trying to double team me, Harold. I just asked a simple question, what the weather's like. Now, I'm the bad guy because they got to have some bad weather.
All right.
No, your comment was, the comment was, I mean, it's beautiful here. I don't know what it's like there. Like, there was no question, but you knew what it was because you talked to your mama prior to that.
It's okay, Quiana. Don't say nothing. I got it.
I will not be the bad guy. I'm telling you. Good morning, Bethany. Thank you, Queen. She says, "Great rising God." That's what I'm talking about.
Yay.
We all fin that
Shout
thing.
out to the people.
Shout out to the people. Come on in, everybody. Share this out. We're gonna have a good show today. We're gonna keep it a little light, and we're gonna talk about your mama a little bit. No, I'm just playing.
I wasn't ready.
Hey, man. I don't know why, but I think I'm musically inclined with Tourette's and movie lines. Bethany says she miss Atlanta. I know you. Hey, and you in the Midwest too. I know you do. Bethany. Good morning, Mom.
Yeah,
Good morning, Mom. Good morning, beautiful Mom.
Giving out SARS and Corona and everything else. Don't let the weather fool you because they just don't abide by no kind of rules down there, especially right around Jamille house. That whole cul-de-sac area, they just do whatever the hell they want to.
Say my part of the city is just all hard-headed folks.
Boy.
Shoot, I be in this house, Jack. You hear
what
me?
I want.
Hey, but it be tripping me out how these cats be out here clubbing. I be like, ooh, the Rona at the bar, like, yep, I'm gonna get y'all come in with me. Come on, let's go. Would you like a
Look, the
drink or
bouncer
would you
won't let
like
them in.
right. Would you like some of my drink? They call me Rona. How you doing? Look at my Oh man, yes, it's a beautiful weather day. I plan on staying around the house a little bit. But nonetheless, enjoying the weather. And I
Hey
want you
man, move
guys
on with the show, man. Why you keep talking about the weather? We already had
Oh,
this
listen.
conversation.
I was
These are your
thinking it, but
these,
you said it.
these are your Patty LaBelle moments, and then you come back with they trying to gang up on me. No, you're being rude, sir. Stop.
Oh, my bad. I love y'all,
You know it could
Indianapolis.
be 75 at 105, and at 107 we gonna have permafrost. You
Yeah,
already know this.
yeah, yeah. Have a
Stop
full
it.
blown snowman.
Right. That made himself
Precisely.
and started catching snowflakes.
Hey, Daddy, can we go out and play in the snow? It's 90 degrees. No, there's a whole hurricane blizzard.
Right,
Uh,
right. The earthquake just hit Indianapolis, right
oh man,
inside of 465. That's it.
yo, I remember when we first had our first earthquake in Indianapolis. My mom was about to whoop me and my brother. She's like, "Quit all that damn roughhousing." Me and my brother looking at each other like, "What you talking about?"
You just
Earlier in
want
the
some.
news, there was
Yeah,
a whatever level earthquake come through Indianapolis. Like, what did we do?
that's funny. That happened to me too. Well, not quite the same. My wife was out of the house and it woke me up. And so I told her, she's like, "We ain't had no hurricane." Then she called me back. "We had a hurricane."
You
Oh,
mean,
okay.
you mean earthquake or hurricane?
Oh yeah, earthquake.
It's early. I know.
Hey, look, I rolled out of bed, got my coffee, put this sweatshirt on, go big state, and
Yeah, this is
that's about the full effect you're gonna get.
the weekend for Indiana State's homecoming, if there was gonna be one. I'm there in spirit. Down at the what was that at the tents? Was that Tent
Yeah.
City? I
Yeah,
probably
so yeah.
I probably been to Indiana State's homecoming a grand total of 3 times. Twice when I was in school and once when I was an alumni. Since I've been an alumni, but I see y'all all be partying and having a good time. Shout outs to all the sycamores out there. Kiana, why are you looking like that?
She was waiting.
We're totally waiting. Um, that is it. That is just
I'm
waiting.
I'm just giving a shout out to the people. You know what I'm saying? That's all.
On what would be homecoming weekend.
On
Yeah.
what would be.
Memories. Back down
Oh, indeed.
Hmm.
memory lane. Okay. Enough of my foolishness. Let's get to Harold said hashtag the walk. That's right. I never did it. I'm too old to do it now. My kidneys and liver be like, you better sit your ass down. The hell wrong with you? Them days is over. But let's go ahead and get into the fun fact, not so fun fact. This is the Quiana Quarles segment of the day, and I think that was the wrong button.
We need some theme music for that.
I know. I was gonna see if we could work together and getting that together.
Yeah. Let me ruminate on that for a minute.
Yeah, fun fact, not so fun fact. By our co-host, Miss Quiana Quarles. Give it up for Miss Quiana Quarles.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. So last week, I went over the constitutions and encouraged everyone to kind of browse over. If you're not in the state of Indiana, whatever state you're in, look up the Constitution, how it came to be, so
For
forth
the
and
state,
so on.
for the individual
For that
states.
state, yeah, for
Yeah.
the individual states. So as it pertains to myself, I am in Indiana, and I kind of touched on a subject within that that constitution that brought up how some of the whites were being fined if you were found to have blacks employed blacks with without them being citizens, and those funds went into a larger pot to um, send blacks back to Africa. So I don't know if you're able to look all of this up. So there was a larger thing throughout the country. So this wasn't just Indiana that did this. There was actually the American Colonization Society. And this society was comprised of Missouri, Virginia, Maryland, New Jersey, and some more states. And Indiana wasn't a part of that. However, Indiana, they came up with their own that was similar to that, and it was the Indiana Colonization Society. So they started their own branch of that. And all together, they sent approximately 10 to 13,000 freemen to Liberia between 1821 and 1867. So the American Colonization Society was formed in 1816 by Robert Finley, and it was comprised of Quakers, evangelicals, and prominent slaveholders that wanted to send African Americans back to Africa. And though, as of right now, to some of us, that may sound cool anywhere but here, but um, it wasn't for the purposes that we would think. In fact, what it was is because they had fears of revolts and also fears of intermingling with between the races. So, and what they ended up doing was sending, I guess, the better of the what they considered the good black folk. They ended up sending those people to the land that they had purchased over in Africa, which was some of Liberia. So they would send us over there, or some of us over there, to actually colonize the land. So convert some of us to Christianity, to also survey the land and see what the soil and all of that looked like, and then they would report back to that state representative or whoever it was that they were communicating with. And the Indiana General Assembly, they started the Indiana Colonization Society in 1852. So that was the year after they revised the 1851 Constitution, state constitution here, which had banned mulattoes and blacks from immigrating into Indiana in the first place. So altogether, in the state of Indiana, sent through 83 freemen, and a vast majority of them didn't make it because of the ship itself. However, there is an actual document that you can find. I may have it in my phone somewhere, but it actually has a list of the names of who they actually got record of. They have a record of those names that you can see. It's pretty interesting. And this is just to let you guys know, that sounds like a long time ago, but The dissolution of the American Colonization Society was in 1964. It was just in 1964. My mama was born the year after.
Mm.
So yeah, so that is my interesting fact. And then there's also, like, if you look up those names and if you're really into genealogy and find out that you are of relation to any of those of our ancestors on that list, like, you might try and get up on a birthright trip. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
it's possible.
And you know what's interesting?
Explain
One
what a
of the,
birthright trip is.
So, a birthright trip is, if it is a trip that grants you the ability to travel back to your native country, or the country of origin. So wherever your ancestors are from, and they actually have there's an actual um I guess, organization now. But the focus for this is actually for students, like college students and younger folks, to actually look up this information, and with proof they'll be able to travel back over to Africa. So it's pretty dope.
when you say be able, does that mean it's gonna be funded or something? Because I mean, they can do it on their own anyway.
I believe that it would be funded.
Okay.
I
And
think
that's
I
why
read
I asked
that
about
on the
that.
organization. Yeah.
Because the first time I had heard of it was in the Jewish community. They've got it set up to where you can take a birthright trip. I don't know how early in youth it starts, but if you go by, I think, like 26, it's a paid for trip. It's a guided trip where they take you back to Israel, and everything's coordinated for you in terms of who you're going to meet with, where do you go once you get there, yada 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 yada.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, one
So
one of the more interesting things about history is, like, younger generations will say, "Man, why you always bringing up old stuff? That's old stuff. That's old stuff." But there's the phrase that never is really ever completed in its entirety. It says, "History always repeats itself." The second half to that statement is, history always repeats itself because the people don't know their history. So it's easy to continuously implement the same template because you don't understand what's going on for nothing. Like, for instance, when you look at social media, when you look at pop culture, when you look at hip hop, when you look at reality TV, when people who've studied certain portions of history can say, "Yo, this is manipulated by the government, by the powers that be, whoever. This is not for us. We should push away from it." Oh, you just thinking too deep. No, I'm telling you something that you don't know nothing about.
Right.
You look at the COINTELPRO movement. That it was said it wasn't dissolved until 1973, but there's also saying that it never was dissolved.
Of
It
course
worked
not.
so well for the government and the powers that be. Why would they dissolve it? And
I
it
mean,
just it just
let's
transforms.
it doesn't even have to be that deep, though. You're right, right? It is called the counterintelligence program.
Right.
Counterintelligence existed before formally writing up COINTELPRO.
Yep.
They've not stopped doing counterintelligence and countersurveillance
At all.
ever.
It's
The
actually
COINTELPRO,
gotten easier.
exactly. The COINTEL program specialized at focusing on a particular group of people,
Mm-hmm.
and I wouldn't say that stopped either.
No, not at all. And so when you see these different people that are who have inserted themselves as representatives for Black America in the public, you can tell after they slip up and say a few things, you be like, ah, 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 ah. Come on
I
now,
think you're
DL.
referring to an IG post you made the other day or
Yeah,
earlier today.
yeah. But you know what? So, and I've gotten messages since time about, man, DL. If DL's not working for the government, he just hasn't studied enough. And a lot of times when you go to speaking about things and you have no idea about, you really put yourself in a bad place, especially in regards with people that do know the information. But one thing that made me look at DL sideways is when he first got his radio show and he was praising Al Sharpton. And I was like, DL, everybody know Al Sharpton's an agent. And you praising this dude like he's the champ. Like Al Sharpton gets ran out of every black town now when he comes to show up when there's a big ordeal. I saw in Baltimore where these guys was on him, and I was like, "Ooh, they about to touch that perm up. You better get out of there, Al." But and by knowing how COINTELPRO worked, it worked with a lot of people that look like us, turning on the overall group that was fighting for actual traction and movement, and something getting closer to liberation. And so you can always see the people that look like us, and they're always funded by the overall bigger pool of the 1% to go do it, because we're going to look at them and be like, yeah, well, they said do this, and then you find yourself falling off of a cliff, But, yeah, that's why history is so important. But I know to some it's boring, but to those that it's boring, you're not reading the right history. Like you're reading the whitewash mayonnaise history that really isn't shining the light on who you once were. And I don't know if anybody that's out there listening, if you want to learn about your history and you don't have a clue, I would say start with YouTubing Dr. John Henry Clark. He was a professor at Cornell, I think. To me, and he's not the start, but for me, he's the father of Pan-Africanism. He's the father of accurate history telling as it pertains to us. I'm sure that he got some information from somebody that predated him, but as far as for me and a lot of the people that I look to and listen to, they got it from him. So look him up, Dr. John Henry Clark. Yes.
So let me throw this out there, because I've wrestled with this in my own head. Like back to the point you made about Al Sharpton.
Mm-hmm.
How do we as a community decide who stays and who goes? This is not advocating for Al, because Al's just an example of what I'm trying to communicate, right? Like, if in our community, if it doesn't look a certain way, it loses all credibility instantly.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not speaking about Al, but like, depending on what you've researched, what you've read, and what you know, Martin Luther King is under no certain terms a representative of black people. He's a coon, right? Depending on what you've read and what you know. In other camps, Malcolm X is a traitor to his people. Again, depending on what you read and what you know. So I'm not here to say right or wrong, good, bad, or indifferent. What I'm saying is we tend to, if it doesn't look exactly like we want, we throw the whole thing away. I haven't reconciled that to a point where I can say I still see how we move forward in all instances. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So here's about the two. So I think it was a couple shows ago you brought up a topic about if you're in a corporate job and a white person says the N-word, right, and how do you deal with it? The same answer applies to this, which is wisdom. So I would never, although I toiled around with my issues with Dr. Martin Luther King's rhetoric, after you're content, because education is an ongoing process. So after consistently studying and reading and doing your research, you find out that Martin Luther King was 19 years old when he got to that platform, when he was telling grown folks to integrate.
Right.
Martin Luther King didn't know what the hell he was talking about. He was 19 years old. He was put there by a bigger institution because of how he could speak at such a young age and how we were just so mesmerized by his speaking. Look at some of the pictures of some of the people that financially endorsed him.
Yeah.
The Rothschilds he was grinning and, they had money and he needed money to move forward. He didn't know the things that he needed to know, but when he became a mature adult, and he had lived life and he started to see the world out of his own perspective, then he aligned with Malcolm X. He aligned with the correct rhetoric. So it's not necessarily about making a bad decision. It's how you rebound from making a bad decision. And there's a difference between doing things on purpose out of ignorance. There's a difference between doing things on purpose and doing things out of ignorance. When you look at Al Sharpton and anybody to this day, there's too much information. There's too much free public information for anybody to make a lot of the missteps that a lot of the puppets that look like you and I make today. So that's why when you see people make that quick, like, nah, we've seen you before, Al. We've seen you before. All these black representatives that speak on our behalf, and you always tell us to wait. Y'all told Martin Luther King to wait. Y'all told Malcolm X to wait. Y'all told Marcus Garvey to wait. Y'all told everybody to wait, and it was always a puppet that comes to us and like, now calm down, pipe down, everybody. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. Just wait. So, yeah, and I've never heard that Malcolm X betrayed his people.
Again, it depends on the camp you're listening to.
You talking about the NOI?
Boom.
Well, they would say it. They the one that helped kill him, so they would say that.
I'm just saying, right?
He's saying depending on who you talk to.
Depending on where you get your information from. I got you. Yeah.
And I think that helps to solidify your point about, in context, think about how old Martin Luther King was, right? At 19, you're extremely influenced, or you're influenced highly by people that you believe you can trust.
Yeah.
And over time, you discern how to fine tune that mechanism that says, here's how I come to a conclusion about the credibility of a person and the credibility of information.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time he was developing that, he was still thrust out front, either by his own doing or by other people's. Doesn't matter. He was out there.
Yeah.
So you again, I look at it and say, we can say whatever we want about the man. He was able to get a meeting with the president of the United States. How did we leverage the fact that he was able to do that to get our agenda across? And I think that's the part where we fall down as a community a lot of times, because we throw the whole person out.
You talking about Ice Cube now?
No. I could care less about that. I'm talking about.
You talking about Martin Luther King?
Right, he met with Lyndon B. Johnson, right? Like,
yeah.
And we always say we need a black. Well, many people now are saying we need a black agenda. We need a black agenda. We need a black agenda. Great. Somebody's got to listen to it. And just because you write it doesn't mean you can get an audience with whomever is in a position to actually throw funds your way, to throw support your way, whatever, blah, 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 blah. I'm not saying we need anybody, just staying in line with the analogy.
Yeah.
So if that being the case, say you've been doing the work on the ground all your life, that means you probably don't have access to the people that we're talking about. So somebody who hasn't been doing the exact, I see this 100 times a day, because somebody else hasn't been doing the exact same work you've been doing, they immediately have no credibility. Yet they can get you audience with all the people that you need to have access to and are willing to help. We sometimes in our community will say, nah, I don't ever see them here. I don't ever see them there. I don't ever see them everywhere. I don't want to deal with them. They ain't about what we about. And it's like, no, there's two different sides to this equation, right? So how do we start to leverage each other intentionally to say, you do that part, this person is already doing this other part while you were developing that thing. Bring those two together, figure out what you can agree on and what you can get that person to commit to, and now go push that agenda. That's my point, right? Like, I think you see a classic example of it when you talk about Martin and Malcolm. Martin and Malcolm had two really, really great pieces, but they were always separated. Both of them had a great mouthpiece, no question about that. But Malcolm had the military might that Martin did not have. And both of them could get access and audience with pretty much whomever they wanted. Malcolm did a lot more public speaking in terms of television, radio, blah, 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 than I think you saw with African-American crowds in the NOI. than I feel like you see with Martin. How do you take the best of what those two people can do separately and figure out, like, we ain't got to be friends, we ain't got to be best buddies, we ain't got to be none of that, but our common interest is for people that look like us. At least that's what's expressed on paper. If that being the case, how do we work together and leverage each other's strengths to move the cause forward for the people? I don't think we've learned that lesson yet.
Well, and I'm gonna stick with the analogy that you pose when you're talking about Malcolm and Martin. They did align at the end,
right?
So prior to that, there was no way that they could unite. And here's why I say that: Martin was preaching being passive. Malcolm X, somebody that was from the street, who was from the teachings of Marcus Garvey, because his parents were Garveyites. He understood that you're not going to get anything done allowing people to step over you. So I remember when I was in college, when they were doing the informationals, I think that's what it's called, for the Greeks and stuff.
Yeah.
I had a couple guys come and talk to me about wanting to have me on their line with them. Now, I'm from the southeast side, but was raised on the south side. I've been on basketball courts where person was getting shot at. Not to say that I'm like super tough or super from the hood or anything like that, but there was a certain standard that was in the environment that I was raised in. It was you if you get punched, you hit that mother back. You don't play these types of games. And so when this person talked to me about that, I'm looking at them like, I wouldn't hang with you on the streets. So why would I go into this with you as my shoulder mate? Because I'm not putting up with the stuff that I'm hearing that people put. I will punch until I can't punch no more, because that's how I was raised, not to take certain things. Yeah. I'm not going to be in the same room with you under the mindset that you have like that, because now I'm putting myself at risk. And so when you look at when Martin Luther King became more mature and started to align with, okay, we need this right now, and forget all that nonviolent march and stuff. Matter of fact, there's a speech that I heard that my first time ever hearing of Martin Luther King, where he said, "I'm tired of marching," and basically he was going through saying, "I'm not doing this no more," which mainstream media, the NAACP, the Black Caucus, whatever, nobody ever plays this for Black people to be like, oh, so even Martin Luther King understood that marching doesn't work. And instead they keep playing this I have a dream and this integration and all this other stuff, which when you see in history, and this is not an opinion, is where we lost all our leverage. So I don't think at that particular point there was no way that they could work, because their ideologies were so far separate. Now, towards the end, when they could work, they more aligned with, all right, let's get this work done by any means necessary. And you started to see Malcolm kind of tone himself down so they could try to get some type of movement, because he understood that it's about at the end for him. So
and then you insert Kwame Ture, who idolized the both of them, and took the both of their ideologies and kind of combined them, and he moved forward with that, and I felt like that was the right idea. So what you do, you see the strengths of both of those great men, because in all aspects, like, not everything, you may not agree with everything that Martin said or did, and you might not agree with everything that Malcolm said or did. Nonetheless, they both were great men in their own right, and in part of the movement that kind of surged us a little bit forward in what we were trying to progress back then.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Stokely Carmichael came in and saw those great aspects of both of those men. And he was like, all right, I like that. Let me take that over there, bring that here. Let me take that over here and bring that there. And so I thought that was in turn a great system.
And at the top, at the height of Stokely Carmichael's, bless you, Dre, at the height of his notoriety, there was nothing nonviolent about him. Like, he was to the point where he was like, we're going to get freedom. And if our people get in our way, he says, and he kept saying, and I was like, damn, he said, is if our people get in our way, they will be erased. Because he understood that there are too many of us getting in the way with confusion. Because, and this is my last point to your point, Dre. I think all this stuff can work as long as the people that are looking to implement whatever it is, as long as the people that speak the rhetoric are really serious about liberation. Because you got a lot of people that talk this stuff, but they're not really serious. It sounds good. It brings them notoriety and attention and money, but they're really not serious.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get those people that are serious, like Martin Luther King was serious. Malcolm X was serious. Stokely Carmichael, they was serious. So anybody that's serious, you can even have difference in opinions or ideologies, but if you both are serious, you both will listen to each other and be like, okay, let me see what I can do. Which all boils down to timing, which that's the thing with any relationship, and maybe we can transition into the main topic about the disconnect between black men and black women. One of the key factors is timing in that. And another, going back to the previous conversation what we were talking about, is basically timing. And unfortunately, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, they ran out of time due to this system and the people around them that look like them that were jealous. And that's all I got to say about that. So, moving on to the next topic. Was y'all done? Y'all want to interject any more?
No, I'm good.
No.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, what you've all chimed in for, what you've all come here to talk about today. A lot of y'all are at home quarantining, wanting to be with somebody. Not Dre. He's married, got a nice home family. He's the epitome of what we all search for.
Publicly shacking, baby. Publicly shacking.
And you know what thing is crazy? So I got a king size bed for the first time ever in my life, and you don't know how necessarily lonely you are till you roll over 5 times. It's just like, this bed won't ever end, and it's just me and clean laundry. But yeah, we're going to talk about the let me get it right. Let me get it. I don't want to misquote your words, Q Quarles. It is the gap between black men and women, accountability and communication. So, where do I begin? Grand Rising Cook, what's up, KO? Good morning, Crystal. I see you, Cuzzo. I'll say, next to timing, it's the dysfunction that a lot of us were raised with. That sort of
shared
fester
trauma.
And it grows. It's like the beanstalk. I was watching Puss in Boots the other day. Don't judge me. That's a good cartoon.
Hey, that's true.
You might learn a few moves messing with that cat, boy.
Hey, he got game, don't he?
Right. He was dancing with the other cat, and they was dancing like feet was hitting each other like that. Like, boy, Whitney Houston would have. I want to dance with somebody.
Oh my God.
I see you. Oh, DJ in you. Yeah.
But no, and Puss in Boots, the one that I saw was the beanstalk, and it was the little beans. It just grew, and when you don't correct a lot of the trauma that we've been born into or raised into, both, it just grows, and you think that this is a part of life. Nobody wants to compromise. Nobody wants to communicate. None of that. What's up, She? I see you. Bethany said facts. And it gets to the point where everything is about you. You know, my cousin Dave used to tell me, Jamil, you better, what'd he say? He said, you better find your woman before you get stuck in your ways.
Hey.
And I never knew what that meant. But, and maybe because I'm Aquarius too, I like a lot of privacy time. Like I like to be by myself a lot, and not too many women understand it a lot of times. Some do, but not a lot. What you laughing at?
Because people talk about marriage like it's a disease, like all of a sudden you become
Ain't
this
that
whole
it?
other thing. Like I'm married and I like time to myself too. That's not a unique thing for a single person. That's a human trait.
That is definitely true.
Nah, but I
It's
like
My
definitely
weeks.
wife don't be
true.
like, get the hell away from me.
I like weeks by myself, Dre. Like I
Yeah,
like
I
to.
bet you do. So would I.
You can't have weeks by yourself, Dre.
Right. Doesn't mean I don't want them. As my grandmother used to say, you can wish in one hand, shit in the other, rub them both together and see what you get. But here's the silver lining in what I'm saying, right? The only difference about what you're saying now as a single person and what I'm saying in marriage is it's not what you want changes, it's what you're willing to sacrifice changes.
Yes.
Right? I want
Yeah.
as much time by myself as I can get, but I'm willing to sacrifice that to spend time with my kids, to spend time with my wife, to make memories that by the time I'm 65 and 70, I can look back and say, look at what we built together. Right? But it doesn't mean over that 40, 50-year period, I don't scream and put. You think like we do e-learning at home, right? It's me and 3 kids between the ages of 5 and 9. I want me time every day on top of
Ain't
working my
that
regular
it?
job, right? Like
Baby.
I gotta
Yeah.
cook lunch. Like
Hey,
I can cook, right?
You
like
be
that
trying
ain't
to
a
play
problem.
hide and seek, Dre. Where Daddy
And
at?
the
He in
dog
the
want to go
closet.
out, right? Like I'm on a meeting at work, and my youngest daughter, like, cause she don't care, she don't understand. I can tell her I'm in a meeting a million times, and she'll see me with my stuff, like I'm in a meeting. She'll still walk up, I'm hungry. I'm like, right, but you know where the snack drawer is too. You know what I mean? Like, the bathroom is me time. Nobody wants to come with a parent. Well, I shouldn't say that. Nobody over the age of 3 wants to come in the bathroom with a parent. Nobody. That's your me time.
Listen. Nope. I disagree. Okay, so look, me, me having experienced both sides of the spectrum, and then back again. You know, whatever that may mean to you, just take it as it is. Um, I'm the reverse of that. So growing into this fantasy land that we have been brought into, women in general, black women, all of these things that we're taught when we're younger, about what an older man can do for you versus that of a younger man. And then
Yeah, buddy.
then you got that combating with Disney on the other hand, of what Prince Charming may or may not look like. So we have all of these things jumbled around, which leads to a gamut of false expectations. So then, we get up there and we start dating, and not only that, we also have our dysfunction that we have had in our own home, which is why we lean into these false expectations and these Disney movies and these other things in the first place. So it's like you get to dating, the shit may or may not work, and it's just, I'm coming to a point of where I force myself to be by myself. And then just like I've learned so much about myself. Like in the beginning, because of those false expectations, it was just like, oh, I want to cuddle, I want to this, I want a man where I can hold hands and we can da 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 da, public affection, da 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 da. And now I'm at the age where I'm just like,
Get off me.
you know what? Get off of me. I don't
You
like
get
that.
stuck in your
No,
ways.
And that doesn't mean I don't love you.
it
Just
doesn't.
means get
It
off
does
me.
not. Yes, it does not mean that I don't love you. I love you very much. Just right now, like I'm not. I don't. We don't have to hold hands. I don't have to be cuddled up underneath you. You know what I mean? Like we gonna end up in the same bed together. We can, we cuddle in. Whatever. But I mean, it's not. I mean, like so. I really am learning a lot about myself, but I know that I have to take accountability for some of those relationships that I had that you know, could have blossomed, but it's just like because of all that baggage that I had, and then all the baggage that other person may have had, then it just, you know what I mean. So like we and communication was a big one of those things.
And I'll
Oh,
say
was it?
to the point you made earlier, if I've learned anything, where you get your information from about marriage is critical. Because your
Oh my
first
gosh.
source is your parents and anybody close enough to you that you see on a regular basis. So their version of marriage is going to dramatically, not
Mhm.
even dramatically, it's going to be the chief cornerstone of what you think about not just marriage, but relationships with the opposite sex or the same sex, depending on what I mean, how you live your life. With that being said, it takes, some people say it takes teamwork to make a marriage work. It takes a coliseum full of people. I kid you not, right? Like when you go to a Lakers game, everybody's on message. Everybody's got the same jersey. Everybody's cheering at the same time. Everybody's saying boo at the same time. Everybody
Mhm.
hates everybody that's not a Laker, right?
Yeah.
We've had to intentionally seek out support more than often, not family, of people where it's like your marriage looks like what I want mine to look like. I'm gonna ask you, how do I deal with this? And I'll give you an example. When we were young in our marriage, my wife wanted to go get ice cream for some day, something, I don't
Eating
remember
no
what we were
damn
doing.
ice cream. Come on in this
You,
car.
I didn't get it. I didn't get it. I didn't understand why we had to go get ice cream on that particular day at that particular time. And it took a older gentleman that I looked up to at my church listening to me in front of his wife and in front of my wife and being like, ice cream?
That's it.
You couldn't go get ice cream? And I had, me, like I had reasons and explanations and rationale. And he was like, but ice cream. That you could not go get ice cream. She wanted to go with you to get ice cream, and you could. And what I learned, extremely valuable lesson for me as not only a man, but as a husband, and most importantly, as a head of household. I learned in that moment, and it seems simple, but um, it's not about what I want. It's not even about what makes sense. It's about meeting the needs of people that you're responsible for at that particular point in time as the head, right? Because if I set that example, that's the example that flows throughout my household. And that's not saying my wife is one of my children or my property. It's saying God has said you are responsible for this role in your house. Her role is not diminished. Her role is not in any way less significant. It's just different. So in my role, I have to set a tone, a tenor, and an expectation about how I want things to flow. And so that brings me to the second thing I've learned in marriage. Um, Everything that happens shows me where I'm leading or where I'm not leading. Period. End of story. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. If I'm the head, that means ultimately everything that's happening is my responsibility or direct reflection of what I'm doing or not doing. And I don't get to blame anybody
Mm.
else for that.
So Dre,
Mm.
now I need to
That's
know.
accountability.
But hold on, Quiana. I really got to know this. What was the reasonings for you not wanting to get ice cream, Dre?
And it wasn't that I didn't, this is exactly how the conversation went. It was not that I did not want to get ice cream. I didn't get why it was so significant.
It's ice cream.
And that's the person I am. It's just my personality. At that time, I could not move on something if I didn't understand it.
So
it has to make sense to me at that time. And I'm still very much that way, but I've learned my wife is top priority. If she want ice cream, I'm going to get ice cream.
But I'm still confused, Dre. It was ice cream.
I'm confused too, because Dre at that time needed to understand why this was so important.
So Dre, at what point in your marriage did you had you always been in that that mindset that, well, clearly you haven't, because you just said, but so what brought you to that point of saying, you know what, like I need to set this aside, whatever it is that I have going on, and say, hey, you know what, that's my wife, you know, I'm gonna have to like at some point, it's not about you being submissive or you taking on the role,
but it is about me being submissive.
But see, the thing is, I feel like
submission, not compromise, submission.
But I feel like though in marriage though, like when a lot of people say submission, they automatically put that towards that of the woman. The woman has to submit to the man, and it's not the other way around. So then when to your point, when you said it is submission, like how, at what point did you get to that, did you get there and say, you know what, well shit, I need to start doing that same thing? Like what clicked in your mind, and what age were you? Where at what point, in what year in your marriage were you at? Like, because clearly it had to take time, you know what I mean,
absolutely.
to get there.
Absolutely. I can't pinpoint the exact time. I can tell you what we were doing. So early on in our marriage, we started going to marriage ministry through our church. And like I said, we found people where it was like they were 25 years in, 30 years in, 40 years in, and we're in like years 1 through 3. And we found those people, those people have changed over the years, right? It's the same people. And then we found people that were in the same time frame as us and were a little bit ahead. And we were honest and open with those people about what we were going through or what our questions were. And we got great feedback. Now, that's all external. Interpersonally, the verse you're talking about, the concept you're talking about, wives, submit yourselves to your husbands, is a biblical verse, right? And people, and my pastor always says, if you want to know how God intended something to be, go back to the first time he did it, right? So if God said, wives, submit yourselves to your husbands, people are taking that out of context. The very verse before that, he says, submit yourselves to one another, right? So men tend to take and ignore that verse, and they read the verse about what the woman's supposed to do. You've already set the wrong tone and tenor for your marriage, because your role is not to be in there telling everybody in the marriage what they're supposed to do. Why? Because you didn't design marriage. You don't know what somebody else is supposed to be doing. You trying your best, if you're doing it right, to figure out what God expects from you. So I don't spend my time trying to tell my wife, you supposed to be submitting to me. You supposed to be doing this. I ain't got time for that.
And we ain't gonna get no ice cream.
Focus on what I'm supposed to be doing. God told me that I'm supposed to submit myself one another to you. And so that brings me to the second thing men get wrong. We get wrong that we're submitting to our wives. That's not what you're doing. You're submitting to the word of God. God said, submit yourselves to one another, period. You're either failing or succeeding. That's it. And it doesn't matter how you feel about it. It has nothing to do with you. It is what God said you're supposed to do. And you either believe God was here before you and knows more than you, or you believe you know more than God. One of the two. Those are the realizations that I had to come to interpersonally. And it's been over, I'd say like 27 to like 32, 33 is really where I was wrestling with those concepts. And I saw people that we started doing like marriage-based ministry with, like together. We would meet once a month in small group. And I saw in some of those marriages things that I wanted to emulate and things that I never wanted to happen in my life. And I would study the men, and then I would study the complaints of the women about what the men were doing.
Okay.
And a big part of one of the hardest things for me during the early, I'd say like years 1 through 7, was to not to give credibility to my wife's concerns. So she would bring something to me. I feel like you're doing X, Y, and Z. I feel like this is happening. It is hard to hear that, knowing you're doing the best that you can do while you're hearing that. But I've had to learn, as the head of the household, there's a time and a place for my rebuttal, and it is usually not, it almost never is, when I'm getting that critique. I look at it like running a corporation, right? So as the CEO of the corporation, I got to make sure that people have an environment where they feel comfortable communicating hard shit to me. And my wife is going to be in the best position to see where I'm messing up, where the flaws are in the corporation. And I'm at my best when I don't take that personally, but I take it as a critique or an evaluation of, here's where the company's performing. Because I'm going to do some things really, really well. I don't need feedback on that. I need feedback on the obstacles and challenges and issues that are limiting the company from moving forward. When I learned to separate how I feel, this is the critical point of all this. When I learned to separate how I feel from what I'm hearing, I was able to have a closer relationship with my wife, because it created an environment where she could say what she needed to say to me without me taking it personal and taking it as an attack and trying to debate it.
And I'm
I
pretty
can't
sure
tell you
that
that
it
I
was.
mastered that. That is an ongoing, because it depends on the issue. Some issues are more sensitive to me, right? But there's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff that doesn't get under my skin anymore. But it's from practice and constantly practicing. And I forgive my wife in her sleep a lot.
You do what?
Yeah,
You forgive her in her sleep.
I forgive my wife in her sleep a lot, because I'm not saying my feelings don't get hurt. I'm saying I separate my feelings from what she has to tell me, because she has to tell me. But I have to forgive her for how I feel. Sorry,
and I know that me as a woman, in that same instance, you taking it from the male point of view, I know that sometimes there's a way that we say things too.
Oh yeah.
Like me as a sharp-tongued Black woman, when it comes time to having relationships, I can be kind of harsh. I've been told that on numerous occasions, and being that it's been said to me on those numerous occasions, I really had to step back and take a look at myself and say, well, damn, maybe I could have said that differently, in that instance. Or before I say it, maybe I need to really think about how I'm going to say it, instead of just coming out and being like, look here, that shit right there, and flashing just in that instant, like it. And I know that too, sometimes mountains can be made of molehills.
Yeah.
So,
and that what you're speaking on is huge for me. Like, I'm huge on respect. And my wife and I used to have this conversation all the time when we first got married, because she was like, what are you talking about? This ain't got nothing to do with respect. And I'm like, for me, it does. I was watching you and I was cracking up on the inside. All that hand moving and see this here now. And like, for me,
yeah.
First of all, talk to me like an adult.
Right. That's it right there.
Because this is like we about to fight. And
exactly. And so for me, I grew up in a house where I saw and heard a lot of abuse. So in our marriage, one of the first things my wife realized was, like, when the tone gets raised and we get real animated, I'm done. Because all I've ever seen that lead to is a fist fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for me, like, it was, and here's what's going on in my head when when it turns into all this, and I'm not saying positive or negative. That's not the point. The point is, how do I receive what you're giving to me, and then how do I react, right? That's the point. When I receive all that, what's going on for me is I can't fight you. And that's not love. So don't come back later and say you love me after you did that, because you can't walk that back. Like I've been in rooms where people calling their spouse and or boyfriend, girlfriend, bitches and hoes, and nah, you meant that.
Oh,
You got to wear that.
Ooh.
You meant that to me. And one of the things that I read that really blew my mind, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, love is kind, love is patient, love is long suffering. It keeps no record of wrongdoings. You can't say you love me and not do what 1 Corinthians chapter 13 says, because that tells you the design of love. So either you're doing those things or you're not. There's no in between. And you can't walk back that I'm a bitch. I don't care how mad
and
you
then
were. Or...
listen, and to me, that's like at times to me, like love can be common sense. Like you don't, if you're not going to allow nobody else to treat you that way, then why would you, if you claim that you love someone, why would you turn around and do the same? Like you're not going to let no regular man or woman out on the street be like, oh, bitch ass, da 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 da. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to allow that. So, you know, it just, then don't bring that into my house. So,
and
and
if you
that's,
do, don't expect me to come back and have a conversation with you later, because you've created an environment that's hostile. When I talk to
yeah,
you, there's hostility. So now you got to live
yeah,
with. I'm big on that. You got to live with whatever you did. That's huge for me.
yeah.
And it's not a like. I hope that doesn't come off like it's a holding a grudge or like it's not that. It's I believe you.
No,
I believe
no, it's
whatever you show
yeah.
me. I believe
I
you. And so you
I
got to.
think that is a human thing. Furthermore, I've seen that be a man thing, and I see that you guys internalize a lot of
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
Like
Oh
you
yeah.
not like if you may not say that shit like right then, but it is definitely noted. So, and then you going like later on, and y'all might not ever say it later on, but through your actions, you like, listen, I don't think that I forgot. I remember that shit.
So here's the
So,
problem, because I had to learn that's not love either. 1 Corinthians chapter 13 says, love keeps no record of wrongdoing.
mm,
So now I got to go back to being the head, right? No matter what you did to me, I still got to set the right tone. That's my job, regardless of how I feel, regardless of what I think, regardless of what you did. So I've had to learn over time, I don't get to have secret hurts. I don't get to have secret feelings. I don't get to have secret revenges. I have to address what happened. I don't have that option because I want that to be the tone for our relationship. So if I don't do it, I can't expect it. So selfishly, I do the shit that I want to see mimicked in my house. So and I've learned there has to be a mechanism for recovery. There has to be. And so now we go back to accountability. Let's say, and I mean we're 13 years in now, but let's say we have a situation where I get called all kind of bitches and hoes. Okay, we gonna have to have a conversation about that. It ain't no I'm gonna remember that, because that doesn't give you a chance to recover. I have to give you a chance to recover. So now help me get it. I gotta get it. And it goes back to what I said about the ice. I have to understand. That's just how I'm built. If we're gonna move forward, you got to make it make sense. And as a man, you're right. My default nature is I'm not gonna ask because I'm not trying to get played. But in marriage, somebody said that somebody told me that marriage is the highest form of commitment that you can make to another person, and it is the closest it is the closest way for humans to mimic God's relationship to his individual people, right? So God is committed to us no matter what. Marriage mimics that. So I have to be able to allow you the opportunity, and her the same with me, to make a mistake and still create an environment where you can come back to me and we can have a discussion about what happened, why it happened, and we've got to come to a new agreement, right? It's either don't ever talk to me like that again. I don't care what happens. I don't care what you got to do. We got to come up with a real plan on how we're going to move forward, but you cannot leave those things undealt with.
And see nowadays I feel like that that form of commitment there, and what we have talked about in a state of making yourself vulnerable, like we as black women and men, like somewhere there has been a gap in between there. Like we don't want to be vulnerable anymore. We want to
Yeah.
be, you know, these these separate, total separate individuals, and like that, and not accepting that really there is not one without the other.
It's a team.
So and yes, and now it's, then you get into the whole things, like I see this more and more now. It's a thing now, y'all. It is a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Polyamory and polygamy, like where
Yeah.
people are
I'm not
just
good at
like,
either one of those.
yeah, like, so clearly I see, but and neither am I, but I see it more often, and then in the dating realm, and then I see that, but there are still people who really want commitment. Nonetheless, there are gaps. There are big gaps, and there's all these influences that play into those gaps, like
Yeah.
the music that we listen to. The like, I have 3 girls, 3, and to listen to the music, and it's like to see that value placed on the most minuscule and demeaning things, and you got the girls listening to it and the boys listening to it, and then everybody's just like, like, ain't no love songs no more, ain't
Yeah.
no, like, I mean, it's so much other stuff that plays into our relationships now,
Sure.
that like, how do we do to mend that, or like, is there a possibility of doing so?
Yeah, there's a possibility. So you remember we've had several shows a while ago, and I spoke on how a speaker came to my job and he was talking about Western culture and culture everywhere else. So Western culture identifies with me, with self, whereas real cultures all over the world is more of a community based thing. So when I don't want to touch on stuff that was said when we speak about polygamy and all this. There's commitments in that too with the people that's doing it right. Um,
Right.
when you look at a union, especially a marriage, you have two individuals coming together to fit into one outfit. So
Yeah.
with that being said, and Ashandra touched on that, it goes back to respect, because you can be mad at each other. You could have said the wrong thing, and as long as you have respect for each other, and more importantly, that union. So like when you look at Jada Pinkett and Will Smith, and I'm just going off of what they say, not I don't know what they do, but they said that they can't get divorced. So once you have that mindset that I don't care what you do, I'm not going nowhere. You cheat, shit, I'm gonna be there right next to you. Um, when you have that mentality, which most of us don't, because we live in a me society where we look at me, everything is about me, not the union. The union is more important than the me. They say there's no I in team. There is no I in team. So when you got two people that are working together to be something, it's yeah, I don't feel like making that drive to get no ice cream, but I mean, it'd probably be good for the overall institution of our marriage to just go get the ice cream. It's not like she's asking or saying she's gonna take my bonus money and go buy some shoes or a hat or some hair or nothing like that. It's ice cream and we can spend time together. And for me, I don't look at marriage and all that. I don't do the gender roles. Um, Whoever's the strongest in whatever position you hold that. Um, when you go back to ancient African civilization, we understood that um, the union was important, and that there was no man over the woman and there was no woman over the man. We sat next to each other,
Bingo.
and the very first Trinity in ever documented Trinity, the very first was the mother, the father, and the child. So a lot of us, we get into these situations not really realizing what we're doing. That's first and foremost. We've been handed this doctrine that, yeah, you shouldn't have sex before marriage and you should be married. And so people just blindly like, yeah, let's go do that, and da 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 da, not realizing you don't even know who you are yet. And so how do you know, how can your marriage work if you find out that you and your mate are going to evolve into being two different people? Like when you was in college, when you was in high school, you was attracted to the looks. You was attracted to something physical. That's what brought you to each other. Now, for me, as an adult, as a 40-year-old adult, I got to be attracted to you, but I got to be attracted to that mind foremost. The word I'm trying to say. Most and foremost, I attracted to the mind. How do you think? Do you stimulate my mind? Do you think regular, or do you think outside the box? And so we have to constantly work on us as individuals. But if that is what you want, if you do want a relationship with somebody else, and you mentioned something, Dre, about love, and my perception on love is not perfect. Love is not wrinkle free, especially as it pertains to two people fitting into the same outfit. So love is like to me, it's on the outside of the union, and you just pulling bits and pieces of it as you grow until you can warp yourself in the whole entire pot of what love is. Because again, you're fighting for two people to become one. And that it could be a fight, or it could just be a natural progression if we look at the thing like this union is important to me and to you. So that's
It's a fight, Doc.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and this one thing that whenever I am in a relationship, I have been, it was Quiana drop. Let's see. It's I was the type where I don't want to go to bed upset. If we had a argument or something and we just so happen to go to bed, if we can't get cool heads and discuss this stuff before we lay down, we're not waking up talking about it. And of course that depends on what it is, of course, but
that also depends on that other person.
You say what?
That also depends on that other person.
Right. Well, that's something that I express, like, hey, we need to get this out the way when, before it even happens. Is I don't do that several day anger type stuff, because after my brain reboots, I'm on to something else. Like there's other problems that's going to come throughout that day. And I don't want to be arguing about how I left the toilet seat up last week.
What if you need to?
Because then I'm like, look here. God damn it.
But see, that's where you have to be careful, right? Because it goes back to creating the right type of environment. As a man, we're conditioned to be the priority and not even know it. So the idea that I don't go to sleep mad about something, and that therefore meaning everybody then has to participate, is a very male dominant perspective. The idea that once I go to sleep and I wake up, it's over, male dominated perspective. And I like the analogy that you used about two people trying to fit into one outfit. I'll take it one step further and say marriage is two people trying to live one life in one lifespan. Right. Yeah. Nobody gets a do-over because you didn't like how it went the first time. So when I think about it in that context of two people trying to live one life in one lifespan, and I consider that I grew up in a male-dominated society, I have to be very careful not to impose my will accidentally or intentionally on my wife, because it's very easy to say we ain't talking about this no more, or we got to talk about it. And that's not fair. That's not partnership. That's not marriage. That's me being a man and imposing my will.
Well, when I said that, it was so it depends on what it is. A lot of times you find yourself in sort of petty arguments, and it's like,
Ooh.
okay, depending on the severity, and then like I said, it depends on the topic, the subject matter. But a lot of those petty issues that you're gonna get over anyway. Let's address this before we go to bed.
But how do you know?
You know your partner. So, for instance, you just got to the point where he's like, I don't feel like driving no more. And your wife really wanted the ice cream, and you just like, I don't really want ice cream. And if you end up and have a fallout about that, then it's like, yeah, we need to reconcile and rectify this, because it's not worth the argument. Oh, look like I lost my staff, my crew. Anyway, so Ashandra, you say I feel like that also for the other person. And she says, depending on the subject at hand. Yeah, depending on the subject at hand. Dre, just click the link that you have. That should bring you back. Or you know what? Let me get a new link for y'all. Let me get a new link. And I know, ladies and gentlemen, you might see a different setup. We're using a different software, and I switched up my setup a little bit. And aroma the raw. Yeah. Let's get them back in here. Who's having a good conversation too? Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. All right, Dre and Quiana, I just sent y'all a new link. Come on back in. Come on back in. Come on back home, ladies and gentlemen. We was having a good conversation, a good juicy conversation. But okay, y'all got the link. Yeah, so there we go. There we go. I wonder if this had a time limit on that link.
I think so.
Yeah. This is still the beta version. They haven't upgraded the full version. But anyway, yeah, so we was talking about the depending on, the severity of the disagreement. And, I do have some experience in a relationship. I'm not married, of course, but there's just some situations where
I ain't trying to make it seem like you don't know what you're talking about. That's my bad.
No. It's not that. No, because I speak out loud. I was going through like, yeah, I do have some experience with with being in a union, and I just remember having those type of arguments. It's like, hey, can we get this out there? Let's talk about this, yada yada. And then it's, oh, nothing's wrong, and then 2 weeks go by. And then now you want to talk about it, and I'm under too much other pressure. So then it's like, I'm not doing this. So now we back at square one.
Yeah.
And I think that just takes maturity on both levels. So if it's something that's really
practice.
That too, yeah, practice. So if it's something that's really extreme and it may involve going to get some counseling or something like that, then yeah, that might need to wait. But
But and so the only reason I kept interjecting is um I had to learn what's petty to me doesn't make it petty. It
Right.
just means it's petty to me. What makes it we ain't getting nowhere tonight to me doesn't make it we ain't getting nowhere tonight for my spouse. So I don't get to decide either one of those things in a vacuum. Now, I can express what I feel and I can express what I'm thinking, but I don't get to decide this is what it is. And for a while, I operated that way. In my mind, it wasn't that big a deal. It wasn't that important. But I had to learn I'm telling that person, whether it's what I mean or not, what I'm telling them is what they value, what they care about, what's important to them is petty to me. I know
So
that's
let
not
me,
what you're saying. That's what I've had to learn, not just in my marriage, but with people pretty much anywhere that I interact with. I try to take that mindset with me.
let me ask you this, Dre. Do you ever find yourself in a disagreement with your spouse when you can say, "Well, let's just agree to disagree," or is
No,
that okay?
no,
And
because
why not?
we're supposed to be one. I can't be one with myself and say, self, we're going to agree to disagree. Who am I disagreeing with?
But what if I mean, so you've never come to a fork in the road where y'all just don't agree on whatever it is. Maybe you like hot sauce. Maybe she likes sriracha. So how you say it? Sriracha.
Sriracha,
What is it called? Damn, Dre dropped again.
sriracha.
Yeah. Would you, Quiana, as a woman, would you ever come? I mean, does that make sense to come to a point where you just like, well, we can just agree to disagree?
Yeah, definitely. Like I've uh during the time that I was uh married, yes. Like I'd have a lot of the we'd have a lot of those moments where it was, we just gonna have to agree to disagree. Like, and that led for, you know, better better times when we did have those moments.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's just hey, and then maybe later on you circle around. Hey Dre, click the link and come back. What up, Mud Jones? You said he up in the thing, shouting. What's out? Um, but at the so it's timing, the dysfunction, the false expectations. Um, let's see. Dre said yes. To clarify, we do have some disagreements, but there's a time. Dre, come on back in. Quit trying to
Yeah.
text conversation. There you go. All right, what was you saying, Dre?
Yeah, I tried to type it as fast as I could. Yes, so let me clarify. You're right. There are what I would call general disagreements about just basic topics, right? Like where we gonna go to eat tonight. Like that, yeah, of course we have
Now that
disagreements.
starts fist
Um,
fights sometimes.
yeah, there's something wrong. But um, what I'm trying to describe is a distinction between general disagreements that any two human beings are going to have, just being human beings,
Mhm.
versus reaching the conclusion about marriage, where our marriage is going, where our family is going, reaching the conclusion that we're going to agree to disagree is not an
Oh
option.
no. I'm just saying in general.
General,
In
yeah,
general, yeah,
yes, of
because
course.
sometimes a lot of those general debates or disagreements, they like Kiana said, they turn into like the Great Wall of China. He's like, listen, I just asked if you wanted Applebee's.
And so what I've learned is when something small turns into something big, one of the questions I've had to learn how to ask is help me understand what's going on for you, because the crime doesn't fit the punishment, right? It's not about the food, it's not about where we something's off.
Mm-hmm.
You may not know at this particular time, and so we've had to learn to say to each other, you know what, you're right, I'm not sure, but let me take some time and think about it. Or sometimes it's, to your point earlier, you keep leaving the toilet seat up. Okay, let's And one valuable question I've learned to ask is, how can I improve?
Mm-hmm.
Right? How can I? Because here, selfishly, what I've learned is it takes the responsibility off of me to figure it out. It takes the responsibility off of me to just know. You know you better than I do. And you're constantly evolving as a human being. So tell me what the expectation is. And then it's my job to decide, is that something I can or am willing to try to meet?
Mm-hmm.
But in those situations that you talk about, right, where something that seems trivial or small on the surface blows up, I've had to learn again, I can't react to the thing because it's usually something else going on that I've got to be.
You got to get to the
I've got
why.
to be in tune enough to ask, help me understand what's going on for you,
Yeah.
and then shut up.
Yeah. But that goes the open lines of communication. So one thing I was saying before everybody departed from the show, they was like bye, was the communication, timing, expectations, your own issues. I mean, when you look at the study of epidemiology, that's trauma transferred genetically. So if you are black in this country and you derive from descendants of slaves in this country, you automatically off top have dysfunctional issues that was passed down to you through your genetics. Now,
Yeah.
and as you go through life, you're going to compound issues on top of that. So here's an important book, and I've said this many times, an important book that helped me get over a lot of the issues that stem from my father not being in my life. It was Wayne Dyer's Finding Your Erroneous Zone. No, it's called Erroneous Zones by Wayne Dyer. And I found that I had a lot of anger towards him. He's not here to even talk about it. And because I internalized that, I swept it under the rug, and then it became normalized. So the dysfunction became normal to the point I remember my girlfriend in college, shout out to her. She really helped me be a communicator. She never saw that aspect of me. But in dealing with her after our thing ended, I realized, oh, you got to talk. Because I would get upset at something and I would go, like, I wouldn't talk to her for like a week or 2 weeks. That was what I did. Whenever I was dealing with a woman, it's like, oh, you just pissed me off. She don't know to the severity in which I'm mad, but I'm not talking to you. I'm not returning no pages, no texts. Yes, I said pages. And if I see you in public, I might walk past you. But after dealing with her, she was one of them people that was like, let's talk about your feelings. I'm like, I ain't doing that corny shit.
Right.
Southside anything, shout, you know what I'm saying? But no, you really have to
work that way.
you're not gonna succeed at anything that's important to you if you're not even able to communicate, if you're not even able to tell me where it hurts at.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you don't even know, yeah. So that is a big thing. And to your point, Quiana, so the environment that is created for us and disseminated down to us, it does create this barrier of a lot of distrust. For one, we don't
Mm-hmm.
in order to be confident in your mate to where you can have those open lines of communication, you have to really be able to trust that person.
Yeah.
And so if you out here as the girlfriend or the boyfriend out here running a whole muck, you know what I'm saying? And then you expect this person to confide. It's like, no, you're an asshole. Like, you're doing dumb stuff constantly that's hurting my feelings. I don't trust you to be vulnerable. As a matter of fact, I got one foot out the door. And so those, I think we have to start getting in tune with who we are individually, so that, and not just to dwell on the me again. You want to be vulnerable, and you want your partner to be vulnerable, Because in the middle of all that vulnerability, that's where all the good loving comes from. Good body rock, knocking boots all night long. I mean, no, I'm just playing, but you know, whatever. My cousin said, just hit me on the hipper. That's right, hit me on the page. You know, my code was 49.
Oh my gosh.
Or was it 24?
Why 49?
That was my football number.
Oh, okay. Okay. You know, it's always a story with you. I got to check.
You say what?
Yeah.
It's always a story.
Yep.
Yeah. But man, we've talked a long time. We had a lot of good input from our audience. Do we wanna get to the music? The music.
Hey, look, I've
Just
been ready.
like
I'm over here practicing beat juggling while y'all talking, so I'm ready whenever we say go.
Well, shit.
Can we get that? Can you get that?
Get what?
Just like music.
Music.
That
Oh yeah, I got you.
yeah, that's my song.
Well, then let get it,
Yeah, we gonna start here, though.
shawty. Shit. God dang. She came in with a comment. You right, Shishi.
Has to be two ways. Has to be twofold.
Yeah.
Yeah, that trustworthy piece is all about the other person creating an environment where you feel safe. At least that's what I found.
Turn a Christian to a certified sinner. The bomb I released, time winner. Explode. You got sent up, I was hitting your ex-hole. Shit, I kept low, petrol, your metro. Politics, keep the chicken heads gobbling. Shit, I'm driving in, come with cold oxygen. Terrorize your city. Just like music.
Sorry.
Hey, don't point at me like that.
Just like you. To relax my mind so I can be free and absorb the sound that keep me round, doing my thing constantly with no worries. Peace to keep Murray.
Peace to keep Murray.
To keep me going, to keep me growing, to keep me to eat from knowing what happens out there. It's not my concern. You want to die, it's not my turn. To do something to me like jumping a Mercedes on the highway, doing over 80 without music, baby. I'll go crazy, just like you. Make me call my homie on the phone like there's something new out that got me in the zone. Just that feeling got me. I wish music can adopt me. Just like you. Music. I got the music. Music. I got the music. I got the music. Music. I got just like you. Put me in the mood with my woman. Got me in the ear singing sweet nothings. Make love come out the mouth, no fronting. Like all of a sudden, just like
I'm your idol, the highest title, numero uno. I'm not a Puerto Rican, but I'm speaking so that you know. And understand I got the gift of speech and it's a blessing. So listen to the lesson I preach. I thought sense condensed into the form of a poem. Full of knowledge from my toes to the top of my dome. I'm kinda young, but my tongue speaks maturity. I'm not a child, I don't need nothing for security. I get paid when my record is played, to put it short. I got it made. I'm outspoken. My language is broken into a slang, but it's just the dialect that I select when I hang. I play it cool, cause cooling is all that I'm about. Just cooling with the girlies, yes, and busting it out. I special ed, and you can tell by the style that I use. I'm creatively superior, yo. I never lose, I never lost, cause I'm the boss and never will, cause I'm still the champion. G1 won't lose until I choose, which I won't, cause I don't retreat. I run you over like a truck and leave you dead in the street. You're inviting me a titan to a battle. Why? I don't need your respect, cause I got it made. I'm talented, yes, I'm gifted. Never boosted, never shoplifted. Got the cash, but money ain't nothing. Make $1 million every record that I cut, and my name is Special Ed, and I'm a super duper star. Every other month I get a brand new car. Got 20, that's plenty, yet I still want more. Kinda find a Honda Scooters, got 74. I got the riches to fulfill my needs. Got land in the sand of the West Indies. I even got a little island of my own. I got a frog, a dog with a solid gold bone, an accountant to account the amount I spent. Got a treaty with Tahiti cause I own a percent. Got gear out where for every day. Boutiques from France to the USA. And I make all the money from the rhymes I invent. So it really doesn't matter how much I spent, because yo, I make fresh rhymes daily. You burn me. Really?
I was at the mall, sipping on a milkshake, playing the wall, taking a break, admiring the girls with the bamboo earrings, baby hair, and body built to swing. That's when I seen her. Her name was Grace and poise, kind of like a ballerina. I said, how you doing? My name's Big L. Don't ask me how I'm living, cause yo, I'm living swell. But then again, I'm living kind of foul, cause my girl don't know that I'm out on the prowl. To make a long story short, I got the digits. Called on my car phone and paid her a visit. I was spanking her and thanking her, shooing her and doing her. Laughing cause my girl didn't know that I was screwing her. Laying like a king on sheets of satin. That's what time it is. You know what's happening. She had a big old booty. I was doing my duty. I mean, yo, I admit that my girl's a cutie. But Tina was exotic. Earl's my witness. With the kind of legs that put stockings out of business. When I went home, I kissed my girl on the cheek. But in the back of my mind, it wasn't big but free. I sat my girl down. I couldn't hold it in and said to her with a devilish grin, Tina got a big old butt. I know I told you I'd be true. But Tina got a big old butt. So I'm leaving you. Tina got a big old butt. I know I told you I'd be true. But Tina got a big old butt. So I'm leaving you. I went to the high school about 3 o'clock. Try to catch a train, ride my chop.
Honey, check it out, you got me mesmerized. With your black hair and your fat ass. Street poetry is my everyday. But yo, I gotta drop my whip. If I was working, I would not pay. Hey yo, my man Fight Biggie, he got something to say.
I like them brown, yellow, Puerto Rican, and Haitian. Name is Fight Dog from the Zulu Nation. So you're in the jam that week. Now let's not the H-Town. You got VPD all on your bedroom wall. I'm above the rim and this is how I ball. A gritty little something New York street. This is how I represent over this here beat. Talking about you.
Yo, I took you out. The sections on my mind for the whole damn route. My mind was in a frenzy in a horny state. But I couldn't drop down so she couldn't relate. You couldn't relate. You couldn't relate.
Well, it was one of those days, not much to do. I was chilling downtown, my old school crew. I went into a store, the bars lights up, I bumped into a girl. Mona Lisa, Mona Lisa, so many. You know what I'm saying? So I said, excuse me there. Oh my gosh, you look nice. Put away your money. Oh, by that slice. She said, I'd rather a slice of you. Get it, but that's awfully nice of you. The compliment showed she had a mind in her. Smile. I almost blinded her. She said, Great Scott, are you a thief? Seems like you have a mouth.
What up, Dez?
Ha ha ha, I had to find that funny, so I said, no child, I work hard for the money.
Yeah, we had a good conversation. Go on to rewind and watch the playback. But as always, appreciate you showing up, sweetie. Hope you're doing good out there in Arizona.
I'm sorry, and I know that's no class. Please say something little about your past. She said, well, I got courage and I don't like college. I've never been to college, but I got crazy knowledge. Over 18 and my eyes are gray. Way more gold than that man on 18. Trim, slim, I'm also light skin. Best believe Mona's a virgin. A virgin? Honey, needed a slap. She tried to tell me she's a virgin. With a yay white gal. I said, it don't matter, see, I'm not picky. Let me spell my name out for you, it's Ricky. Or rabbit shit. See, outrageous or careless. Yeah. For the Kangos which I got that I wear every day. And why not? Suffice not right that I recite tonight. Quite polite like Walter Cronkite. About that trouble, my friend came in. He said, hey Rick, don't you know playing with these snakes is a sin? He grabbed me by my shirt and pulled me right out the store. He said, I don't want to see you playing with these blowlights no more. Now come along, we have a party to attend with some real mature women and some more of my friends. He held out a cab and he waited for a bit, and as the cab came, he thrusted me in it. And as we believe in it,
is all me, bro.
Let's call it a comeback. I'm rocking my pants, put suckers in fear, making the tears rain down like a monsoon. Listen to the bass go exploding, overpowering for the competition. Wreck is shot when I drop these lyrics that I make you call the cops. Don't you dare, you better move. Don't ever compare me to the rest that are all get sliced and diced. It's right, knock you out. Mama said knock you out. I'm gonna knock you out. Mama said knock you out. I'm gonna knock you out. Mama said knock you out. I'm gonna knock you out. Mama said you out. Don't you call this a regular jam. I'm gonna rock this land. I'm gonna city bitty world by storm. Just come. Muhammad Ali on the shit. That's this beat like a storm. That's a new I had beef with. Why do you live with maniac?
Hello, hello. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen. Did it cut out again? Dre, you there? Oh, man. I'm still here. Who is this? This is Quiana. There you go. Can you hear me?
Who, me?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can hear me. I bet Dre is still playing. Don't even know.
Am I frozen?
No, you're not. I bet Dre don't even know he's frozen. Let me text him real quick. Well, I mean, we got through a good portion of the show.
Are we set? So we're not live no more?
Man, dang. I know it was getting good, Dre. Come on back, brother. The link should still work. He said he's in the lobby. I don't see you. So we are now having a Teddy Riley we having a Teddy Riley there we go. There we go. Two. My homegirl Desiree. She says, blessings to you as well. I'm good and I hope you are too. Clearly, glad to see you and your team. I love it. Great job on everything. Waiting. Thank you, baby. Thank you, Desi. I need you to draw me a tattoo too. I've been thinking about you, and I know you got the talent to do it. No one was.
Who they done to you?
Huh? When the homies call.
It's a shame you chose the good game. Now you're slang, say on the streets with no name. It was plain that your aim was more yo. You got fame, now you reign with no shame. I chose rap tracks to make stats. In fact, I travel back with rap to spray cats. But now I don't want to no, not low. And I hear that you made a few enemies. But when you need a friend, you can depend on me. Call if you need my assistance. There'll be no resistance. I'll be there in an instant. Who am I to judge another brother? Only on this cover. I'll be no different than the other. To the O, to the M, to the I, to the E. I'm down to the E-N-D. Cause it's a good time at all. I'm down, yo, when my homies call. What? It's my homies call.
Hey.
I ever tell you I met Keith Sweat in the mall before?
Hey. Like really short.
I met Keith Sweat in the mall, and he talks the way he sings.
All that nasal talk.
Yeah, his talking voice is his singing voice.
Oh,
I said, "What's up, Keith?" He's like, "Hey, what's up, man?"
I mean, you don't open your mouth and close your nose.
is he short? Is he really short?
Nah, Keith is tall. Yeah. Hey, and Keith will slap the shit out of somebody too. You don't mess around with Keith, boy. Hey, Keith was the Drake of the 80s. That brother could not do no wrong, I'm telling you.
That's a good one.
I think Billy D wanted to be Keith Sweat. That's how smooth Keith Sweat was. And for R&B cat, Keith Sweat had the hardest beats. Like rappers would play Keith Sweat songs. Wasn't he, Shishi? You know he was.
You was vibing too much to keep sweat. We gotta change up the tempo.
Hey.
Yes, indeed.
Somebody pull out that long Cadillac.
The sugars on your block, the planets let them flash in the corners of New York, the ghetto, the meadow.
Y'all know about that one.
The honey bugs dug and licked the honeybee. The sun, the kiss, the funk for a bliss. The lips with the soul and some jazz for your hips. The puff, the buzz, the lips be
Is that
heavy.
Diggable Planet?
The Mecca get a
What is
rush
it?
when
Yes, ma'am.
the hands, the
Yeah.
feet, the brown baby treat. The femmes fumble
It's
loose.
that nickel bag.
The step, the flames,
Yeah.
the legs, goddamn. The grip from a nickel bag of funk, a nickel bag of funk.
A nickel bag of funk, a nickel bag of funk.
A nickel bag of funk, a nickel bag
Do
of
y'all
funk.
remember nickel
Nickel
bags?
bag of funk, the big, the fat.
Wait a minute. What happened to nickel bags and dime bags? Can somebody please tell me?
Inflation.
That shit went from nickel bag, dime bag to 20 sack and a quarter and a half ounce.
Right, did you say inflation?
Inflation.
Hey, times is hard out here.
I want somebody to call their weed man and ask for a nickel bag of weed and see what he say. He'll call the police on you. Hey, officer, this motherfucker trying to score a nickel bag of weed. I used to think a dime was a lot of weed too. Like, ooh, I can't do all of this. This is too much. No, I'm just playing.
You what?
I'm on my college days.
No, but when I say super, I'm not exaggerating. Dating for a guy like Scott turns into mating. He seems to be quiet, but I don't buy it. Proof is in the pudding, why don't you just try it? The super hoe is loose in your section, and he's armed with a powerful
He said the
erection.
super
So
hoe.
grab your girl and run for protection. Your mama too, cause I like to mention.
Ooh.
Speaking of which,
Woo! Woo!
see what we can add to
Nice
it.
transition, sir.
player. Give me some brew and I might just chill. But I'm the type that like to light another joint like Cypress Hill. I still do be spit loogies when I puff on it. I got some bucks on it, but it ain't enough on it. Go get the
This
F, the
beat
T,
was
I,
so
D, E,
hard.
F. Nevertheless, I'm hella fresh, rolling joints like a cigarette. So pass it across the table like ping pong. I'm gone, beating my chest like King Kong. It's on. I'm the and another stogie. Fools all kick in like Shinobi. Know me ain't my homie to begin with. It's too many hands to be. Probably let my friend hit bit. Unless you pull out the fat crispy $5 bill on the real before it's history. Cause fools be having them vacuum lungs. And if you let them hit it for free, you hella dumb, da-dum-dum. I come to school with a tailor on my earlobe, avoiding all the thick teasers, skeezers, and weirdos that be throwing off the land like where the bomb at. Give me $2, you take a puff and pass my bomb back. Suck up the dank like a Slurpee. The serious bomb will make a nigga go delirious like Eddie Murphy. I got more growing pains.
I can't catch that one.
Cause homies drag me to take the dank out of the bag.
Man, that beat is so heavenly.
I got 5 on it.
I wish I could have been there when the producer was making that.
I can't not listen to that song now and think of Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele.
I take sacks to the face whenever I can. Don't need no crutch. I'm so keyed up till the joint be burning my hand. Next time I roll it in.
Do y'all remember when
so the ashes won't be burning up my hand, bruh.
Do you remember when weed had seeds in the bag?
Longer than your extension, cause I
Sticks and stems.
You get high off me for free. Hell no, you better bring.
I don't know stuff that you're talking about.
I mean, college was a rough time, okay?
The weed in my system is getting lonely. I gotta take a whiz test to my PO. I know I feel cause I done smoked major weed, bro. And every time we with Chris, that fool rolling up a fatty. But the Tangeray straight had me.
It doesn't matter if I'm dead, sober, or I'm bent. It's strange. I'm not insane, or at least I don't think so. Or am I? You think so? Doubt, truthfully, I don't know. So what do? I go to my crew and ask for help, but they ain't no help. They go do the same thing damn self. So I look deep into the mind of a crook. Not vision books. Damn, again goes the ish. I can't get out of the cycle. This one got me.
What's up, Stacy?
Before I blow my motherfucking top, G.
I got 5 on it.
Have your mind twisted while we chit chat. I think that we should start with this session. But before we begin, let me ask you a few questions. Have you been touched the wrong way? Involved in gunplay? Your time, let me guess, acquitted like you was OJ. Typical black life, you jackknife, son of a sea biscuit. Get Pacific and stop up in the ground with that crack. Yes, you do. I can tell.
Speaking of OJ, did y'all know he was supposed to be Terminator before Arnold Schwarzenegger? Look at that.
The more you know.
No way you'll never make it. Come with the weak shit, I break it. Step into my zone, mad rhyme, will stifle ya. Lines like rifles go blast when I kick some ass. I'll be like one fly rhyme if there was one right under their noses. I hate those motherfucking poses, but I'm so real to them it's scary. And with my unique skills, nah, you can't compare me. And no, we don't make whack tracks. And all the suckers get pushed back when I'm kicking real facts. I represent, set up shit like a tent boy. You're paranoid cause you're a son like Elroy. And you'd be happy as hell to get a record deal. Maybe your soul you'd sell to have massive hits. Oh, that would be funky. You know what I'm saying?
No, this was one of the coldest beats right here.
Yeah.
Funky. Like a front they ride. Yeah. You know it's funky cause you heard it from hearsay. A jam that you love that don't be getting no airplay. Strictly for frontin' when you're riding around. 12 o'clock at night with your windows down. Headlights blinking cause your battery's drained. Armor all on your tires and a big gold chain. Parking outside all the hip-hop spots. Push the EQ and play connect the dots. Lean
leaning to the side, full everywhere. The trunk full of amps, ain't no room for spare. Big beats pumping with the basses back. Full of sophisticated suckers getting hard as tech. Cause they don't understand why I act this way. Pumping up the funky beat until the break of day. Cause I'm when I'm and the girls be on my job cause the system's fly.
With so much drama in the LBC, it's kinda hard being Snoop D on Double G, but I somehow, some way keep coming up with funky ass shit.
All right, Des, be safe out there, and I'll get with you in the email. Take care.
Huh?
No, I was talking to my friend Des. She's commenting from YouTube.
Hey man, y'all gotta get out of here. Y'all ain't supposed to let me do that.
What'd you say, Dre?
I said, man, y'all tripping. I gotta get out of here.
You are now listening to the Jamille Harley Morning Show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was.
You know it.
Yeah, Dre just snuck that in. I was, oh, okay, it's time to go. I want to thank y'all for rocking with us another Saturday morning. I want everybody to go out, enjoy your weekend, be safe. And another shout out to my DJ got Vicky Godzillest and the lovely Quiana Quarles. We want to thank y'all and tune in next week. As next week, we're going to bring in a financial expert and give everybody tips on how to start your own business. We live in a capitalistic society where the laws are created for business owners and landowners, property owners. So let's get it. Let's have a good weekend. We'll see you back here next week, the same bat time, same bat channel. This is the Jamille Harley Morning Show.